Welcome back to Math Corner. I'm Mrs. Iacono. Today we're going to be doing Module 6, Lesson 3. Our learning target, today I will represent mixed numbers in different ways. The three ways we're going to represent them include place value discs, expanded form, and number line. So to start off is that we learned about mixed numbers yesterday with Ms. Harris. I'm going to choose a mixed number. I'm going to choose 42 and 6/10. Okay. So I would represent this using place value, right, discs. And how I'm going to do that is I would say that I have 4 tenths, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 2 ones, 1, 2, and 6/10. I like to add the 0 on to mine, so it's 0 and 1/10. You don't have to. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, and so all of this means is that if I wanted to create a different way to the word is expand. If I wanted to create a way to expand this, how I would expand this would be 40 plus 2 plus 0.6. Because remember that fractions are related to decimals. So I'd have 42 and 6/10. So this is actually called expanded form. I'm going to label it here, so try to keep it in your mind. And so this one is our place value discs. And the other one we're going to talk about how we're going to represent it is on a number line. I'm just going to give a line segment because it's easier for me. So I'm going to start it at 41 and then end at 43. Oh, sorry, my assistant says she wants me to start at 42. I will follow her direction. So we're going to start at 42 and end at 43. Okay? And so we know that in between there's going to be 10 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have to redraw that. There we go. Sometimes I do a little extra, right? So if I were to place this on to the number line, I would start with 42. I would have to go 6 places. So 42 and 1/10, 42 and 2/10, 42 and 3/10, 42 and 4/10, 42 and 5/10, 42 and 6/10. And so I put my little dot right there. And I want to remind you that 42 and 6/10 is equal to 42 6/10. Okay? So now I'm going to have my lovely assistant place up our template. There we go. We're going to pause.
All I need Ricky.
My lovely assistant has uploaded our template up here. So we are going to now place all the information we just did onto our template. And this is very similar to the template you'll have for homework. Okay? So we know that the number we're working on is 42 and 6/10, or 42 6/10. Okay? And on the number line, if you remember, we started at 42. And we went up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And this would be 43. Okay. And so we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 little hops, and that actually represents 42 and 1/10, 42 and 2/10, 42 and 3/10, and so on. So I'm going to put a little dot here and right below it, 42 and 6/10. We're going to put our decimal form up here. So it's 42 and 6/10 because this is our decimal form. So this is mixed number, one and fraction form. So this is literally just the whole number and the fraction together. So it's 42 6/10. Our expanded form is slightly different than what they wanted you to do. We are going to group the hundredths, the tenths, the ones, and then our decimal groupings together. So this is going to be 40 plus 2 plus 0 and 6, or you can go 40 plus 2 plus 6/10. Okay, so this is going to be 42 and 6/10, 42 and 6/10. Okay, and if you notice,
Do you want to show them how the
I
homework?
should probably show them how the homework, you're right.
Yeah, it's a little confusing.
So Miss Harris, who's my lovely assistant, pointed out that the homework is a little confusing because it has you breaking these into like shares. So it's going to be 4 copies of 10. And that equals 40, but that's a little hard for us to do. So how they have you doing it would be 4 copies of 10 plus 2 copies of 1, and then plus your decimal. So 0.6. Instead of doing
it would actually say 6 times 1/10.
you're right.
They
Harris.
even expand that out.
It'd be 6 copies of 0 and 1/10. But this is kind of confusing, and for our expanded form, we are going to stick with grouping them based on where they be on the place value chart. So we're going to do 10s together, 1s together, and our decimal together. Okay? And so the last part of our template says how much more is needed to get to the next one. So the next one, this one is going to be 43, because we're going to say the next whole number. Our next whole number is 43. If we come back over to our number line, we can hop it. So we can go 0.1 tenth, 0 and 2 tenths, 0 and 3 tenths, 0 and 4 tenths. So we know we have to add 42 and 6 tenths to 0 and 4 tenths to get 43. So we know that we need 0 and 4 tenths more to get to the next whole number. I'm going to erase it real fast. There's a little bit more on your homework, and we wanted to make sure that we showed this to you. Okay, it says circle groups of tenths to make as many ones as possible. So our groupings of tenths are going to be 10 of 0 and 1/10. Okay, so you have to have 10 of these, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We're going to circle this. And remember that this is the same thing as 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10, 6/10, 7/10, 8/10, 9/10, 10 tenths, which we know equals 1 whole. Okay? I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to have to circle out 10 of them to get 1 whole. So I'm going to remind you that this also can mean that you need 10 tenths, right? So we have 0 and 1/10, 0 and 2/10, 0 and 3/10, 0 and 4/10, 0 and 5/10, 0 and 6/10, 0 and 7/10, 0 and 8/10, 0 and 9/10, 10 tenths, which is actually 1 whole. And so if you need to, it is perfectly fine for you to, over top of them, go 1/10, 2/10, and count them out. 3/10, 4/10, 5/10, 6/10, 7/10, 8/10, 9/10, and 10/10, that equals 1 whole. And the reason I'm suggesting this is that we're more familiar right now with fractions. So we're going to use what we're familiar with. Okay? So that's 1 whole. And then I have to count out to see what's left. So as of right now, I know there is 1, 2, 2 wholes. And I have 0 and 1 tenth, 0 and 2 tenths, 0 and 3 tenths, 0 and 4 tenths, 0 and 5 tenths, 0 and 6 tenths, 0 and 7 tenths, 0 and 8 tenths. So I'm going to add 0 and 8 tenths to this. Okay, so this is going to be 2 and 8 tenths. And it says there are blank tenths. Okay, if we wanted to say how many groupings of them are there, so we have 10 tenths, 20 tenths, 28 tenths. So we have 28 tenths or 2 and 8 tenths. Okay. Do you feel like there's any others, Ms. Harris, you think we should go over?
Just how much more is needed to get to 3? They would just count on like we've already done.
So it says how much more is needed to get to 3. So you'd start with 2.8, and we're looking to go to 3. And so with 3 wholes, let me put the 3 and nothing. And I'd go 2 eighths, so 2 and 8 tenths, 2 and 9 tenths, 2 and 10 tenths, which is 3. So we have to go plus 0 and 2 tenths would equal 3. So we're going to write our decimal form here, 2 and 8 tenths, and say that we need to go 0 and 2 tenths more to get to 3.